Hey guys, welcome back to the Nostalgic Neighborhood. As I've been revisiting my childhood BMX and skateboarding days, one of the things that I've been missing the most are the ramps that we used to build as kids in my old neighborhood. Except for I don't want to use cinder blocks and old sketchy pieces of wood this time around. The ramp is about 39 inches long and just a little bit over a foot tall. It's perfect for us older guys looking to get back into it. The back is angled a little bit and that'll help prevent it from tipping over when you hit the top, and it's also good for wobblies on your skateboard. I didn't want to mess around with a string compass or bending PVC pipe to get the angle just right on such a small ramp, so I designed this on my computer and I made a printable PDF template that you can download, print, and then trace onto the side templates. If you'd like to make a ramp exactly like this one, down in the description below I'll drop a link to the PDF file where you can download this and print it off at home. So yeah, in this video I'll show you how to print the PDF across a few sheets of paper. We'll go through the build and assembly process and then give the ramp a few test runs so you can see how perfect this is for new riders or for old folks like us who are looking to get back into it. Okay, so once you have the file downloaded, you're going to want to open it up in Adobe Acrobat, and then inside the print dialog, you're going to want to make sure that on the page size and handling that you have poster selected, and then leave all the defaults like the tile scale at 100%. Just make sure that you check the cut marks box because that's going to give you little cross marks. There's going to be a little bit of overlap, and then that'll allow you to line everything up perfectly after it's printed. So yeah, just double check that and then go ahead and click the print button. Okay, so these are going to print across 8 sheets of paper. 2 of them will be blank, so you can ignore those. You'll see that there are little cross marks on each one. We're going to want to cut off between the lines on the cross marks on the right sides, and then on the top row, we'll want to do the right side as well as the bottom row, and then that'll allow us to line everything up just perfectly with the overlap. There's a little bit of white space on each sheet with some trim marks. We're going to trim off the right side of each sheet, and like I said earlier, the bottom of the top row. You can use scissors for that, but it's a lot faster to use a paper cutter, so that's what I'm going to do here. And one thing to note is as long as you're just like pretty close, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to be that perfect when you're cutting it out with scissors, and especially not with the saw when you're cutting out the transition itself. So I'm just going to go across each side here, cutting the top off, or the right side off, I mean. And then here on the top row, we need the bottom off of this one. And then on this one, we need the right side and the bottom row. And that's it for the cutting. All right, now we're just going to use a little bit of tape, and we're going to just kind of at a high level get each of these those markers lined up. Close enough. Okay, now I'm going to take some longer strips. All right, so we have our template together, and now we're going to cut it out. Okay, so now we're ready to cut the template out. So pretty straightforward. I'm just going to stay on the outside of the line here. Okay. And then if you want it to be extra kind of sturdy, then go ahead and run some tape on the seams on the back side just to make it keep it a little bit more in one piece and from flopping around as much. Okay, so we've got our template ready and we're out in the garage. We're gonna go ahead and get all of the wood cut to the right shape and sizes and then get the ramp assembled. And so we're gonna start off here with the side supports, and this is 3/4 inch plywood. This is some leftover wood from an old project that I had laying around, but basically we're gonna trace the template onto here and get that cut out. Then you can see here we're going to have 5 spars that kind of connect the side templates together, or side supports together. And you could get one 10-foot long 2x4. Each of the spars are going to be about 2 feet long. So you could just do that one for $4 or $5 for that piece of wood, or you could just get 2 of the shorter ones and cut them up. Then after that, we're going to need the support, the surface that we actually ride on. And for that, we're gonna use a 1/4-inch plywood. And again, this is old scrap wood that I had laying around. Since this wood here is a little bit rough and got a bunch of knots and whatnot, this is not totally needed, but I have a sheet of 1/4-inch birch smooth plywood here. This is from an old bookshelf project that I did inside the house many years ago, but I'm gonna use that as my top layer. It'll be nice and smooth and look really nice. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of the wood. So let's go ahead and get these side supports. We'll get everything traced on and then start cutting wood. Okay, so I'm gonna use some painter's tape here real quick just to kind of keep it in place. While we've got this still on here, let's go ahead and tap where we're gonna drill the holes for the side supports. You'll notice that I have these just a little bit above the bottom of the edge in case the wood is a little bit bowed. It'll keep the ramp from kind of rocking a little bit. Pull off the template here. Normally when you use a compass approach, you'll go ahead and cut the first one out and then use that as a template to trace the lines on the others. But since we have this template still here in good shape, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, and this will give us the best chance of getting an exact duplicate on both sides. Okay, to get the supports to spread exactly 2 feet apart from the outsides, we need to have the spars be 2 feet minus the thickness of these, which is 1.5 inches. So the spars each need to be 23.5 inches long. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and pre-drill all the holes for those crossbars just to make assembly a lot easier. All right, now we got a countersink bit just to make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, so I've got some decking screws. Let's go ahead and start to get those in. Okay, we want these just barely sticking out, and let's just start with one here. First one's always the hardest. All right, now we just need to work our way down. Next thing we want to do is get the back for the Wally wall on here. So we'll get some of our plywood here. I need to know exactly how long that's going to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and pre-drill this. Next up, we've got this is solid. This does not wobble. That's great. Very top is right there. So let's cut this to shape. I've got a table saw over there that I'll do that on to get it perfectly square. Okay, so I realized I didn't have the camera recording when I put this first layer on, but basically I just lined it up on the top, sunk a screw in here in the middle first, and then worked my way down. I did make sure that I put the screws in a couple of inches. That way when I put this top layer on, they're gonna be a little bit further on the outside, and I wouldn't worry about having to hit one while I was going in. So we're gonna repeat the process here with this final layer. Same deal, I'm gonna just kind of get it basically lined up. All right, so let's countersink. Okay. Okay, that's good. So let's get the sides, that way it'll keep it straight. Okay, so that will stay. Okay, so the thing I did on the other one was I used this scrap and I just kind of measured the center on each side. Let me just kind of make a okay. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. I'll come back and make sure that the screws are all countersunk to the right height, and then I'll come back with some sandpaper and just lightly sand the whole thing. I was up at the hardware store earlier today, and they had some things that would work for a good metal transition here, threshold to the ground, and they were 2 feet wide, which is perfect, and either 8 inches or 12 inches kind of long this way. But they were sold out, and they were around 15 bucks. So I may go up and get one of those in the next week or two. But otherwise, I think we're done here. It's starting to get dark outside, and it's about dinner time here. So I think I'm gonna take a break for the night. And then tomorrow morning, I'll get this set up in the backyard and try a couple of jumps on the bike, and then maybe set it out in the front yard or in the front street in front of the house and try my skateboard on it a couple times and see how it goes and see if we need to make any adjustments. All right, I'm a little bit nervous, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so this is the first time that I've jumped my bike off a launch ramp in like 30 years now, and I was a little bit nervous that I was gonna end up racking myself, but luckily the transition on this is so mellow that you just kind of give it a little bit of speed and you just pop right over, so no big deal.
You got like 3 feet of air that time.
This ramp is going to be perfect for somebody like me wanting to get back into it, getting a little bit of practice before you go a little bit more aggro. I think this would be great at the top of a hill with a little bit of an incline, so you've got a little bit of a mellower landing. Maybe you could get a little bit of more distance, and then the more I do it, I'll feel more comfortable giving it kind of a huck, like a bunny hop as I go to get a little bit more amplitude. So I'm really stoked on this. I'm going to have some fun with it. And so now I'm going to take it up into the front of the house and see how I can do with the skateboard. I'm a little bit more nervous on that one because the concrete, if I don't get it right, it's gonna hurt. But let's check it out. All right. Okay, so I've got a couple of test runs on the bike as well as on my skateboard up here now. And my first impressions are that this ramp is awesome. It's not too tall and it's got some pretty mellow transition on it. So it's perfect for somebody who's a little bit older or somebody looking to get back into it, like me. And one of the things I've learned about myself as I'm turning 50 this year is if I attack a new project like this, like I did when I was younger, I'll usually end up hurting myself. So both on the bike and the skateboard today, I took it pretty conservatively, and it really was kind of not as hard as I thought it might be. And so I'm stoked, and I've got good hope that I'll be able to kind of work towards where I used to be, maybe getting some ollies with a bit more amplitude and getting back into some ollie grabs and stuff. So I'm stoked on that. And so if you're interested in making one of these, like the one I made here, I'll put a link to a PDF file of the template where you can print that out and tape it all together and pretty much duplicate this yourself. And so if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. And thanks again for watching, and then we'll see you in the next video.